Sometimes it's so painful to watch.
Good evening. This work session of the Common Council is now called to order. May we have roll call, please?
Mayor Gates?
Here.
Vice Mayor Miles?
Here.
Councilmember Kress?
Here.
Councilmember Lingenfelter?
Here.
Councilmember Scott Staley?
Present.
Councilmember Waite?
Here.
Councilmember Yocum?
Good evening.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. All work session items listed are for discussion only. No action can or will be taken. The primary purpose of the work session meetings is to provide the City Council with the opportunity for in-depth discussion and study of specific subjects. Public comment is not provided for on the agenda and may be made only as approved by consensus of the Council. In appropriate circumstances, a brief presentation may be permitted by a member of the public or another interested party on an agenda item if invited by the mayor or city manager to do so. The mayor may limit or end the time for such presentations. Item number 1 is the overview of Mojave Substance Treatment Education Prevention Partnership Mixed Step Program. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's a privilege to come here tonight and give you an update as to the work of MSTEP, and I hope to be joined here shortly by Dr. Sarah Knievel, who is the co-chair along with myself over the organization. Just to give you a little bit of a history as to how we got to where we are today. In 2004, we held a community stakeholder meeting at the Kingman Police Department to deal with the meth situation that was occurring across our region. And we invited a lot of leaders into our training room, and we spoke about what are we doing, where are our gaps, and how could we work together to better fill those gaps. And from that, the Kingman Meth Coalition was formed. Shortly thereafter, Bullhead and Lake Havasu began the same type of endeavor to create a community coalition. So we created then the idea of MSTEP, which would be an umbrella organization for all of the communities and service countywide, because we didn't want to be Kingman competing against Havasu, Kingman competing against Bullhead. We knew what we needed in our region, and we felt we could be better collectively as one voice. So MSTEP was born in '07, and the primary focus was treatment. Then through the community health initiatives, MSAT was formed, and that was to address what we were seeing as the escalating opioid crisis. And very shortly thereafter, we merged. MSTEP and MSAT merged so that we could take full advantage of the 501c3 status of MSTEP to pursue grants and other funding to further our endeavors. This was our driving factor. When you look at us, we in Mojave County, we in Kingman, we want to be number one, but this is not the number one that we want to be. And clearly we saw an issue that was upon us, and we began collectively to address the issue. And you can see where the overdose mortality rates were, as well as 5-year overdose mortality rates. We were at the top of the spectrum in regards to what was occurring across the country and across the state of Arizona. Deaths and some of the data here, it takes a while to get it in. That is now starting to come in at a much more rapid pace based upon the governor's state of declaration of emergency this spring. So we will be able to retrieve data much quicker than what we have in the past, because many times, and this is one that we refer to often as the quiet killer, because it was so much medical related and prescription related, we didn't see a lot of this coming until it was clearly upon us and we were in a very bad reactive mode. This is an idea of the suspected opioid overdoses that are related with fatality. And again, you can see that for our area, it is far and above what our expectations would be.
Sorry, I'm late.
And this is our cohort in crime, Dr. Sarah Knievel. Our drug use, that was our concerning thing as well. We were hearing about pill parties that were occurring across, and 1 out of 10 of our 8th graders and 1 out of 6 of our 12th graders were obtaining the medications, the prescriptions from someone. So we knew there were things that we could undertake that would hopefully make a difference. We are part of, we being Magnet, of HIDA, and we are a HIDA initiative through the state as well as through the country. And this gives you an idea of the data we've been able to pull in. And again, you can see Mojave County area, when you recognize that we're a community, a county of over 200,000 people, we are getting an undue surplus of opioids that are coming into our area based upon our population. When you look at this chart and compare it to the density across the country, it's a significant issue. Strategy number 1 And Sarah, I don't know if you want to touch a little bit on this as well? And
The strategies that we are pretty much following through MSTEP are strategies that were handed down through the state, and I'm not sure how much you talked about that, but it was direction that was given to us on how, as community organizations, we can combat this. And the first one was to kind of educate and reduce the possibility of acquisition diversion of prescription drugs. So people really didn't know anything about this a couple years ago when we started talking about this. And one of the things that have been really important with patient education is making sure they understand that these prescription medicines that they have are potentially dangerous, obviously. But it's a lot of people that don't understand how dangerous they can really be. We've created something there called pharmacy mats and pads that go out with prescriptions that are available at all pharmacies, and little information about how to safe store your medicine, how to safe dispose your medicine, what to do if you have a concern with a problem with the medicine. The drug drop boxes has been huge for us. It's something that's been implemented across all of Mojave County. There are different locations, and you can give more details specifically where they are, where there's safe disposal of controlled substances. Actually, we take all medications there, everything but sharps and liquids, that allow patients to safely dispose of their medications. When we look at and I don't think we have a slide that includes this, but when you look at the rates of volume of pills that we've collected over the last couple of years, it's astronomical how things have soared. So, I mean, especially in Mojave County here, we've done a wonderful job educating and making sure people are aware of it. Pill pods are different things that people can use to store their medications safely. Timer caps are other things that kind of tell you when you've opened your medicines last, which can be a deterrent for you to take more, but it can also educate you if someone else is getting into your medications. Billboards is a big thing that we're starting to do, and there's actually one right there that talks about what you can do if you're in crisis and things like that.
And with the drop boxes, just to give you an idea of the success we are seeing with it in keeping it out of the hands of those that shouldn't have them. Last year, we were 26% above what we had collected in 2016. So far this year, and last year actually, we collected 367 pounds of medication that have been disposed of. As of June 30th, we're already at 311 pounds. So we are just soaring in regards to getting the message out there and getting the medications to us.
Strategy 2 is something that I've actually been quite a bit involved in, and it involves educating providers to make sure that they know what they're dispensing, when they're dispensing, safe ways to do it. It's actually been a really difficult thing to kind of address because obviously there's a large volume of pills in the community, and the majority of these pills are actually legit prescriptions. Pharmacies aren't being broken into. We do have quite a bit of illegal medications coming in from Mexico and other things that you can talk about more too, but the majority of the oxycodones and the Vicodins and things like that that are available came from a real prescription at some point. The majority of medications that's abused is usually not necessarily from the individual who's getting it from their provider. It's from an individual getting it from a friend or a family member that's getting a good prescription from their provider, or not good, but legit. So educating people about providers about how they can be safe with prescribing. One of the things that's been really massive for us is making sure that providers check this thing called the Prescription Monitoring Program. It's a database. It's pretty much nationwide now, but it's run by each state. So Arizona has their specific database. It gives the information based on a patient's identification with date and their last and first name, and it tells them what controlled substances that they've gotten. The medication is put into this database by the pharmacy, so when you fill a prescription for a controlled substance, it's put into this database. As a provider, I can look into this database to see, yes, you're filling this prescription that I just gave you, you're filling a different prescription that you were getting from the ER, I didn't realize you're on this medication. So it can really open up the eyes of the prescriber to see the different medications the patient may be looking for. The most important thing with this and what people are trying to do is to combat people who are jumping from doctor to doctor to doctor just to get different prescriptions. And it's really done a good job, and we've really got a lot of people to sign up. And the literature shows that if you signed up, you are actually going to check it. So that's something that's really important. And the 60% increase in 2 years. We've done a lot of education, trying to offer CMEs, talking at different hospitals. I'm extensively involved at KRMC because that's where I'm employed. But that's something else that we've been doing. So, and if anybody has any questions at any point, anything about all of this, please go ahead and ask.
Absolutely. Strategy 3 was to enhance prescription drug practice and policy in law enforcement. And I can honestly say over the last 4 years, I've learned more about opioids than I had ever hoped to learn. But Sarah has been tremendous in regards to helping me along and furthering my knowledge as we tried to combat this. We were, as you're well aware, the first agency in the state to become Narcan supplied. And we today have 5 saves and reversals from that. Now the state is pushing for 80%, or excuse me, 85% of the departments, and we've assisted in training and offering policies as well as implementation guidelines all across the state. And we're now in process of assisting Geo Prison with training for their staff as well for exposure to fentanyl, which is basically opioids on steroids. And we've already intercepted a quantity of 10,000 fentanyl pills going through our community.
Just a clarification on fentanyl. Fentanyl is a medication that's available legally in the United States. It's usually the IV form that's really only be given in the hospital and the OR settings. And there's also a fentanyl patch. It's a transdermal, so you put it on and the medication is slowly absorbed over a period of 48 to 72 hours. The fentanyl that they're encountering is completely different than any fentanyl that we make here in the United States, or at least we give in the United States here. We don't have access to pills. So this is all illegal, very, very potent, more potent than some of the fentanyl that we make legally. So it's extremely dangerous.
And we've also spread that naloxone and Narcan training through community coalitions, and we were also the first rural community in the state to agree to and implement a syringe access program, which kicked off in April. And I don't have the exact number, but I can tell you that they are weekly making referrals to treatment for these individuals that are coming to pursue access to syringes. So again, breaking down that barrier, getting the people to build that level of trust and get them the help that they hopefully need and prevent an overdose.
About syringe access, it's called harm reduction overall, because when you hear syringe access, it may just kind of make your skin crawl a little bit. There's a huge stigma, particularly in the Southwest, about why would you want to give a junkie a needle? Why would you want to do anything that could potentially enable their behavior? But the literature shows that when you have access to safe location, which we don't necessarily have, but safe syringe exchange programs, the rates of hepatitis C and HIV drop significantly. And as a taxpayer, that's huge, because a lot of these people, when they develop these disease processes, we're the ones that pay to treat them, which is extremely expensive. There's also a lot of literature that says that if you are an active user and you're involved in some type of harm reduction program, you are much likelier to reach out for treatment. And those people are the ones that are successful going through rehabilitation, which is very difficult and very costly. That's probably one of the hardest things that we'll get to in our discussion. But it sounds like a really bad idea, and when I first started thinking about it 5 years ago, I was like, oh, I don't know if I really agree with this. But when you actually just look at the science, it makes complete sense. So it's turning out to be a wonderful thing for us.
Absolutely. It was one of the things where a red flag went up for me right away, going, I don't think we want to do that. But Sarah and others at the state level, and talking and working and educating myself and seeing what we could actually accomplish, because this is our community. And as we're watching this problem get more complicated with the HIV and the hepatitis rates just soaring, we needed to do something different, because what we were doing clearly was not having a significant enough impact. So I made the decision that we would try it and we would see what we're doing, and in a very short time period, we're already marking some significant success. So it's one life at a time, one day at a time, and we're seeing that each and every day. And that was with the public awareness and patient education. As Sarah said, we need to break down those stigmas. And we're out there talking at different resource fairs. We're in the school classrooms. We're speaking to service and social clubs, trying to make them better aware of what we're actually dealing with and why we are doing some of the things. And again, our walk away from drugs, it's going to be 12 years this year, and that's huge. And I hear it from the state all the time. There is not another program like that in the state of Arizona, and they're amazed that it keeps going as strong as it does, and they're very proud of it.
This is the one that we've probably been focusing most on in the last year or two, and it's actually probably been the most difficult one. Our goal as a community organization is definitely identify individuals and make sure that they can be referred appropriately to treatment, identifying providers that can get them into treatment. This is a huge bottleneck for us, and we really have a lot of problems with access to treatment in this community. there is a large, it's called the STR, State Targeted Response Grant, that was monies given through SAMHSA, millions of dollars that came to the state of Arizona. Several millions of dollars were allocated actually to Mojave County, and it went through the behavioral health homes of Mojave Mental Health and Southwest Behavioral. Southwest Behavioral was chosen as kind of like the one that was going to lead it. They've attempted to build up their staff, and I'm not putting anyone down. They're doing a wonderful job. It's a reflection on the limitations of a lot of difficulties we have with getting employed people here. But we are building up our ability to get people into referral, but we still do not have an inpatient treatment facility in Kingman. We have one small, tiny place called Marina Point in Bullhead, and it is full 24/7. Access to treatment there is virtually impossible. And even at this, the STR funds are only talking about our Medicaid population, our access population, and that's, I mean, that is a large portion. For me, that's probably about 55% of what I see as a provider at KRMC. But anybody who has Medicare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, I don't qualify for it with United Healthcare. So, I mean, it is available, but not excessively. And even if you are identified as someone that can be going into treatment, it's really hard to get you in there. And I mean, like, when I find somebody that needs treatment, I mean, it's like I'm on the phone call, seeing what I can arrange, talking to people in Phoenix. I mean, it's not just like, I'm going to refer you to orthopedics to see if your knee can be replaced. I mean, this is something that will take hours of my time to make it happen. And I would say 99% of people that are in a spot of weakness associated with their addiction and they're ready to go into treatment don't have somebody like me helping them. So the access to these available care is very, very, very sad. We do have a new building on 93 here. The Southwest Behavioral opened their essentially walk-in facility, and we're trying to, you know, funnel more people into that facility for acute care needs, you know, as opposed to the ER. And their numbers are increasing, but it's very, very difficult to get people into treatment even when they're ready.
We've told the state when they said, what would be the ideal for Kingman if you were to look down the road in a few years to address some of these situations? And we said, give us the resources, give us the funding so that we can develop a one-stop shop. It's when you start to bounce these people around, going here, going there, as well-intended as it may be, you lose the ability to really, truly do that warm handoff. Give us a one-stop shop, and I truly believe we can make a difference, and I believe Mojave County can flip that tide, and we can be the number one that has made the biggest impact across the state as we deal with this crisis over the next several years. And it's going to take several years, because we're not going to come out of this quickly at all. But with that, one of our other partners, Michelle Vallandigham, is not here. I'd be remiss to not give her kudos. Michelle has been tireless in regards to going out and pursuing the doctors to get, I want to say when we started, we were only in the 30 percentile
Right,
for
it was
doctors
horrible.
with a prescription monitoring program. She has done a tremendous job, and it's now put us up at the top in the 90 percentile. So she has been a true asset to all of us. But with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the presenters?
I have a question. Can you tell us a little bit about what it would take to get a treatment facility here and how many people could be served in that facility? Because what we're hearing and from the presentations that we've received in previous meetings is that is really key in a community to sort of start fighting back against these problems. So what will it take and how can we help?
Well, the problem with the STR funds and the STR grant that was initially created, and as it perpetuates, there was a small clause that was written into it that said that you cannot use this for brick and mortar, which is very difficult to find a facility to put rehab in, and that probably is our biggest problem right now. So I've worked with KRMC to see if they would have any interest in, because I'm over at HMC, Hualapai Mountain Campus, that's where my offices are, and I was hoping that we could expand there. It didn't really fit with what they wanted to do. We've been looking at other buildings, and you can talk about this one.
We're also looking at trying to partner with the Jerry Ambrose Council, quite frankly, many of the veterans that they're servicing fall into a lot of these different aspects. The bricks and mortar is going to be a challenge, but the state's going to come back down. We're going to try again to see if there's other ways of maybe renting space, because under the grant, we can get furnishings, equipment, and this sort of stuff. And we
Employees,
can pay
training.
rentals. So there may be a way that we can do it without dealing with the brick and mortar aspect. But I can tell you, we are trying each and every day, and I would love to see us be able to open up a 10 to 12 bed facility with a potential for expansion, because that will be filled just like that.
And there was a facility that was really under serious investigation in Bullhead, and the general public just completely turned it down. So I'm not sure if it had the right zoning.
It did not have the right zoning, where what we are looking at with the Jerry Ambrose Council is already zoned to accommodate those needs.
So a building, you need a building.
We need a building.
Okay.
We can get the funding. We have tremendous support through the state right now
Right.
at the governor's office, and if we can just find the facility.
Okay.
So if you build it, we will come.
Thank you.
Other questions? Well, thank you for that presentation. Very
Thank you for the
informative.
opportunity.
We have meetings every every Tuesday,
Third Tuesday
third Tuesday.
And where are they located?
at the Kingman Police Department.
What time?
It's 3 o'clock.
3 to
We
3
just
o'clock,
transitioned.
the third Tuesday of the month.
And we'd be more than happy to have anybody participate. We've got a really good group that comes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 2, elections update.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I just wanted to provide a quick elections update where we are with candidate elections as well as our ballot measures, looking at both the primary and the general elections. Starting with candidate elections, we do have 2 candidates for council. We did not have any write-ins, for mayor. We did not have any write-ins for mayor. So we do have Mayor Gates and Vice Mayor Miles who are running, and that contest will be decided at the primary election because of that. For council, we have 2 candidates who submitted their petitions. They are Ryan Dooley and Sue Ann Mello-Keener. And then we do have 3 seats available, so we did receive 6 write-in candidates. They're Timothy Gripe, Harley Pettit, Deanna Nelson, Scott Holtree, Ken Watkins, and Stuart Yoakum. Write-in candidates must receive a minimum of 537 signatures at the primary election to move forward. That's the minimum number of signatures that was required to get on the ballot. So for a write-in, this essentially serves as their petitions. If they pass the primary election, but they're not elected outright, which I'll go over just in a moment how that happens, they move forward to the general election with their names printed on the ballot. If they do not make it through the primary election, they're done. They cannot run in the general election. They can't even be a new write-in candidate in the general election. Write-ins are permissible at the general election, but again, they must be new candidates. You can't fail to qualify through the primary and then try again at the general. And those must be submitted by September 27th to the city clerk's office to be write-in at the general. And so just really quick if we can get that up on the screen. Maybe. Just to quickly go over the changes this year. It is a little bit different than it was with our last candidate election. We as the city had not updated our code to reflect the current state statutes. So these are the exact numbers from the primary election in 2016. And this is based on valid votes cast. So we did not have any valid write-in candidates. You do see them listed with the canvas, but they were not valid write-in candidates, meaning nobody had submitted as a write-in candidate, so they did not count. These are people writing in Mickey Mouse or their best friend or whoever. So that's calculated with the new changes that we've adopted to align with the state. Our total valid votes cast was 11,960. Dividing that by 3, which was the number of seats available, would have taken us to 3,987, rounded to the next whole number. And then we divide that by 2 to essentially give us our 50%. And that again is rounded to our next whole number. And so to be elected outright in the primary, a candidate would have had to have 1,994 votes. We had 4 who received above that number, so those top 3 vote getters would have been elected outright in the primary, and there would have been no need for a general election. And so that will be the same principle that's applied this year. So moving on to, are there any questions with that before I move on?
Did you say September 27th?
For write-in candidates for the general election. And a write-in candidate can be elected outright in the primary if they receive those minimum votes. It seems like it's a simple question. It seems like there maybe should be kind of a layup for the people who are listed on the ballot, but nothing is guaranteed. They're not guaranteed a seat or anything like that. So it just is based on that calculation. Okay, so for the ballot measures, as the council is aware and many of the public are aware, the initiative for the Responsible Sales and Use Tax Act had a minimum requirement of 2,498 signatures to make it on the ballot. City Clerk's Office completed our review on August 2nd. This was a 15-step process, and through that we eliminated 712 signatures. From that, we receive a random sample that's prescribed to us by the Secretary of State's office, so completely impartial. And for that, we submit the number of petition sheets that were still valid, which was 274, and the number of signatures on those sheets, which was 2,980. Based on that, they sent us a random sample of 149 signatures. Those were highlighted and sent to the Mojave County Recorder's Office for their review. And the county is looking for things like if the voter was registered to vote at that time, does the signature on the line match the signature on file? Do they reside within the jurisdiction? They have a several point checklist that they have to go through as well. That was returned this afternoon. 26 of those 149 signatures were eliminated, which was 17.44%. And that percentage was applied to that overall total of 2,980, which eliminated an additional 520 signatures, bringing their final signature count to 2,460 signatures below the threshold. There is a 5-day challenge period, and that is calendar days. So that clock began today. Arguments are still being accepted should a challenge result in the initiative still being placed on the ballot. And arguments are due by 5 p.m. tomorrow evening, August 8th. So with that, do we have any questions on the initiative? Because I'm sure that's where a lot of these are.
If it were to be challenged, would another group be able to challenge that challenge in court?
I'm going to defer that one to Carl.
I have a quick question, if I may. Oh, go for it.
So the question is, if the proposing party challenged the city's decision not to place it on the ballot because they failed to meet the minimum standards, could somebody else challenge that challenge? Well, I guess what I would say is you could probably participate, because what'll happen is the proposing party would then have to basically rebut the city's position. So yeah, I would think there could potentially be other parties necessarily getting involved, because I would suspect that, you know, a more thorough review, even by the proposing party, would probably discover some more discrepancies. So.
That's my understanding too, and I mean, to do that, I've heard it's maybe $15,000 to $20,000 to try to defend.
It, you know, depends on how much your lawyer charges you.
Right.
So.
Thanks.
Councilmember Waite, you had a question?
Yes, thank you. You mentioned that arguments are still being accepted should a challenge result in the initiative moving forward to the ballot. And I've heard, I know that was posted, I think, on the city's website or on Facebook. And I know a lot of people were confused as to what end. Where are these arguments going? where are they going to be placed in a packet or something that will be distributed, or what are these arguments for, and who is going to see them?
The arguments are placed in the publicity pamphlet that's mailed to each registered voter in the city of Kingman.
Okay.
And these are arguments for or against.
One last question regarding that. Can you talk a little bit about the form of the sworn statement that needs to go with those? I've received some questions about,
There is a sworn statement that is prescribed, and unfortunately I don't have the wording in front of me, but it is available from the city clerk's office, so they can reach us at 753-8113 or cityclerk@cityofkingman.gov, and we're happy to send that text to them to include. But it basically is just saying that I did write this statement, I've sworn it, and I'm sponsoring it.
thank you.
Okay, so moving on, our final ballot measure this year is the home rule option that the council is well aware of. This will appear on the general election ballot, and this does allow the city to operate by excluding certain services from the general fund. And these are water, sewer, sanitation, and the airport. They operate as enterprise funds. And again, arguments for or against the home rule option are being accepted through tomorrow at 5 p.m. So that is August 8th at 5 p.m. With all elections, the city is not permitted to influence any election one way or another, nor are we permitted to use any city assets to influence one way or another. And staff can only provide statistical information or facts regarding any election. Council members, as individuals, are permitted to campaign for or against any particular item or person as they please. I have had that question a lot this year. So with that, are there any additional questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
All right,
Thank you for that update. It's appreciated. Moving on to item 3, the work session. I'm taking my time as you're approaching. Get you an entrance. So this is a tourism update with questions and answers. Good evening.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. Josh and I are going to pick it up with the last 4 slides rather than go through the whole thing, and then at that point we have some updated information, and then we will open it up for questions from council. So if you just get it a minute, then we'll update you.
Push through this way.
Josh?
Thank you, Gary. Mayor, members of council. So these are the last 4 slides, just kind of bringing back how we go through evaluating our marketing initiatives, looking at the trends and trying to figure out what sort of markets are coming in, what our seasons look like. This is a graph in Microsoft Power BI, that's business intelligence, that we use to track the lodging comparables between Kingman, Laughlin, and Las Vegas, and also the lodging revenues with the state of Arizona. And what we've done to do this, just not to make it real long, but basically we've created indices where we've taken the average of these figures from 2007 through 2016. So we take that 10-year average and we make that number 100. That's basically our index base. And then from there, the numbers go up and down. So we can really just look at how those compare with the big numbers from the state of Arizona versus the small numbers from Kingman. So we can throw them on one graph and look them together. This is a moving monthly indice. So we actually take the months before and after a month, and we can kind of smooth that out so we can really see how those are going together. It allows us to get those jagged figures and kind of pull them into a nice smooth line. And once again, you can see Arizona, that's the red line, and that's really peaking up in the winter and spring months. And then Kingman, those are the darker lines that are kind of weaving in and out of that. That's kind of during the fall and the summer months. And this is looking at our unadjusted indices. So this is basically just taking those same averages for each individual month, and we can look at how that's going up and down, and we can see that orange line is Grand Canyon National Park visitation, and then the green line below that is our visitors at the visitor center, and then the yellow line is our room tax revenues. And it's basically the same data, except now we've seasonally adjusted it so that it's easier to look at, and we can look at each month individually and see when they're going up and going down. And then this, of course, is Kingman versus the deplanements at McCarran and LAX. I understand there were some questions from the presentation at the last council meeting. We just wanted to come in and see if we can answer.
Before we answer questions, I just wanted to say one thing. Today we received two interesting phone calls and inquiries via email, and it was from developers looking at the overall tourism effect of the Grand Canyon and in Kingman. And with the information that you've seen tonight and many other things, Josh and I were able to answer many questions for them. The second one that inquired, now we will make contact tomorrow with more economic development type issues that they were asking about. But both replied that this was extremely helpful. And so among data folks, this is the kind of thing they like to see. And so, the numbers speak for themselves. So with that, we'll take questions then from the council.
Thank you very much. Questions? Did you want to start?
I had some questions. Thank you for the presentation and the data. My questions are really more of regarding space usage, the gift shop space, product offerings, including local products in the area that maybe we could sell in our gift shop or our visitor center. I wanted to know if there's possible tours that could be booked out of our visitor center, especially now that we have the airport. That would be maybe something we could work out with the tribe, where we could do, booking tours out of Kingman. And other ideas to maximize the usage of that space. When I drive by it, I see this really neat looking building, and then there's both an inside space and an outside space around the entire building. When I go to other visitor spaces or centers in other cities, and they really maximize the outside of that space too. And when I'm driving, past the train park, and we have the nice arch there now, maybe we could explore using all of that space on the outside with seating, with shade, with maybe some, maybe the community college here has some public art that they could exhibit out there, just make it more of an inside and outside experience. And so really kind of what my idea was, if the council would be amenable to it, is we just have this new economic development commission that we've just appointed, and maybe we could ask them to participate and go through with you all what I would call like a highest and best use of the Kingman Visitor Center space, both inside and outside. And they would look at things like space usage, both inside and outside. They would look at our gift shop space and the products that we have, and some of the local products that maybe we could sell in there. We have turquoise, we have leather goods, we have a lot of smaller businesses downtown that maybe we could partner with as far as product offerings. I don't know if we do book tours out of the visitor center right now, but maybe there's regional tours that we could partner with to book out of the visitor center as we have tourists and visitors come through town. And any other ideas that might be, that would help us to maximize downtown and just create that experience and that destination that we're kind of all hoping to strive for. So those would just be my comments.
Want to answer on the tours?
Other questions? Did you have any?
Maybe we could respond to.
Okay, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
We've definitely been receiving a lot more tours that have been stopping at the visitor center. As far as booking tours, that's something that we have explored with Grand Canyon Resort Corporation, particularly to book tours out to Grand Canyon West. It's not something they've bid off on yet. There are some particular hurdles to overcome as far as taxation with the tribe and taxation with the state, so that we can find a fair rate and we're not charging more than they would be charging just by going directly through Grand Canyon Resort Corporation. But it's something that we would like to look at, is trying to find a way to maximize and offer tours out of the visitor center.
Yeah. We'll take that other stuff under advisement, absolutely, Councilman.
Yeah, well, I know that the trails, you guys are aware of all the trails we have. We have trail maps at our visitor center around and maybe we could partner with CRADA or other trail associations and maybe promote some mountain bike tours or something, I don't know, with a local bike shop or something. There's a lot of different areas that we could explore, I think.
Certainly on the news side, just recently at the Governor's Economic Conference for Tourism, we, because of our numbers and because of our point of entry into the state, have been given first crack at almost all their new bilingual stuff, which is, was really good. And that gave us an opportunity to see what was happening certainly in the marketplace. And one of the things that we saw that most definitely was the change in China's visitation. And so we're starting to see that too. I think Josh had informed me last week we had the largest number of tour buses in the history of the facility.
That's
and
excellent.
Our numbers are already far exceeding anything that we have done from the last year. So it is a market that we're going to stay focused on.
Yeah. Well, I know we're looking at branding, and I really think that there's an opportunity for us to push recreational tourism out of our visitor center, with everything that's going around in our area. Thank you.
Just one follow-up question. Currently now, do we have signs in how many different languages at the Powerhouse?
In the museum, we have pamphlets that are translated into 6 different languages.
Okay, I was just wondering, navigational issues like restroom, that kind of, is that something we'd want to consider as we're seeing our tourism base shift?
That's definitely something to consider, yeah.
Thank
It
you.
is.
Josh, I have one more question. I'm sorry. I know that we just recently got Wi-Fi at the visitor center. Do we have visitors and tourists sign in to gain access to that? And the reason you would have them sign in or give an email address is to build up, some sort of a list that we could use for marketing and advertising?
We do not, and as far as the logistics of that, I'd have to defer to IT to answer whether that's a possibility.
Thanks.
I guess I have a question now. Is there still that available office space on the second floor that was, we remodeled it, I guess, a year or so ago, and is it still available? Are there any plans to utilize that space?
So the city uses that conference room quite a bit with our training with finance, with doing CPR training. We have different event organizers that utilize that room for holding meetings. But we also have the space that was just to the left of that Grand Canyon Resort Corporation had their gift shop in. They vacated that about 2 months ago.
Thank you.
Yes, question?
I just have a couple things since we're talking about tourism. There's still a bit of concern from downtown business owners about how do we get all these visitors at the Powerhouse onto Beale Street and then, down to enjoy the shops and the gallery and the restaurants and things like that. And how do we partner up with them to keep people here so it's not just a quick stop in the Powerhouse and then move down. So I would love to see the city work with the business owners and maybe talk about some ways that we move them down, whether it's you can rent a bicycle, at the Powerhouse and then you get a map and you can go down, or we're just making sure that we encourage people to stay. Mr. Kellogg, you had made a comment that a big draw is history, and the tourists come in and they want to see our history. And I happened to notice I was in Boulder City recently, and on their sidewalk in Old Town, there are these circles, and they have a self-guided tour that you do on your phone, and it's in different languages. And so at every sort of marker that's in the sidewalk is a new story about the significance of that place, or what happened there, and things like that. And I think that we have an opportunity here. It'd be really neat to do like a Jim Hinckley walking tour, because he has a big draw. He's a very interesting storyteller. And so if we could sort of partner up and have this self-guided tour, that is a way of delivering Kingman's rich history to tourists and to locals alike. And then you have this tour that can be taken anytime. And the apps usually have different languages so that it's open to just about anybody, and they can move around downtown and sort of see whether they want to see the old houses or, whatever it is. We have a ton of history here, and I think that's a great way to preserve it and to share it and to encourage people to spend more time in downtown.
Councilman, we certainly agree, and we're looking at any way that we can get folks to head for the downtown area. I just recently came through Boulder and the new I-11, and there's a whole history right on the highway. I mean, those folks really know how to do it right when it came to that I-interchange, because there's the whole thing of mining, it's all there, and the Art Deco bridges. So,
It's
those are certainly
beautiful.
things. But one of the other things that we've been working on, we're trying to revisit with the railroad right now. We may have another opportunity to look at the property between the powerhouse and downtown. There has been talk of, and I don't know if we can pull it off, but one of the things that we have that unique to 66 are the neon signs. And to create a neon sign, because I think it's the same thing whether you do the walking tour with a guide or you find some way to make folks move from there and walk downtown. I still find it quite amazing at City Hall to go out at lunchtime and see the number of folks that make it down to take a look at the courthouse. There's magic in that in the old Elks building,
Yeah.
Those are the things that those folks go, wow, that's the Old West to them. So,
It is.
thank you, we'll certainly look at that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, if I could just make one more comment. Thank you for the comments. If I could just ask my colleagues on council how they would feel about utilizing the new Economic Development Commission to go through, for lack of a better term, a highest and best use of the Kingman visitor space, come back with recommendations in a few months, 3 or 4 months, or however long they need, and how we would go about that if the council would agree with something like that.
Well, I want
Mr.
to
Foggen?
ask Mr. Foggen, is this
Well-
something you'd prefer to start with staff?
Well, so I just wanted to piggyback. I've been sitting here waiting to speak, and I appreciate the question, Counselor, and it's not a bad idea. I will tell you that conversations that we've already enacted are things like, what are we going to do for the outside? How are we going to make the powerhouse that place that people stop, get out and walk, and do end up on Beale Street? So we are having those conversations already. The sign walk that Gary alluded to is one of those things where we think that people would be willing to walk down the street, and then once they get to Fifth, it's like, oh, there's a downtown here. And one of the things that we are interested in pursuing is additional community art. We've started, and it's the mural system that the city has, along with a couple of statues, but we'd like to see that continue, of course. But one of the things that we've been talking about doing is there a way to take one of the things about 66 that's just really cool is the fact that people associate old cars with that. And so how do we, is there a way to bring and display some old cars, classic cars, as part of the powerhouse and the extra space? Can we do shading? The seating, I think, is obvious. We've got to get people a place to relax. And what we know about seating is when you give people comfortable areas to sit, it attracts others to come. People are just wired that way. And so we are pursuing ideas about how can we use the open space. But any suggestions for improvement, of course, would be accepted. So I would say that we are working on it. We are having active conversations about what we can do. Any minds coming together and doing a share of information is welcome. So for our part in it, we don't claim to have all the answers. And if there's a committee that makes sense to do that, obviously tourism does fit into our economic development process. Clearly, when we are generating a whole bunch of sales tax by visitors staying at hotels, eating at restaurants, and purchasing things, it clearly does fall into economic development. So I wouldn't have a problem with those folks weighing in on that by any means.
Yeah, I mean, so to rephrase that, you're saying that if this council were to instruct you to work with our commission on economic development to go through some sort of a highest and best use for that visitor center, that you would be able to do that?
Yeah, I don't think we need the council to actually take action. I kind of seeing heads nod, and it's, that's why we have these committees, is to utilize them and get feedback from them. So Gary's heard you, I've heard you. I think we can ask them to weigh in on it for sure, because we certainly can lay out what we're doing. You know, one of the things that I know that we would like to see happen is I'll call it a tourist ambassador program, where we are basically inviting businesses to send their employees to come and learn about the history, and places to see, so that when someone walks into a restaurant and they're eating there and they're like, well, what's there to do in Kingman? We don't have people say, well, you know, there's nothing to do here. And, you know, that's the wrong, you know, or someone's at a gas station. You know, we want these folks that live here to help promote tourism, the stay and play concept. And, you know, and so, you know, someone on that committee may have a similar idea, so.
Well, this type of a situation, in my own mind, is exactly what the commission is for, to examine that space that we have, and then to do some research on what other communities that are being successful are doing in their visitor center, and then incorporating those and bringing those back into recommendations to you and to the council
Yeah,
to consider.
as a policy group, we're looking for them to help identify policy that makes sense, and that's what their role is, to
Great.
advise you guys. So, yeah, absolutely.
Question or comment, please?
Comment. I certainly support that type of project for a commission of this nature. I was very fortunate today to attend the inaugural meeting of the Water Commission, and I was really pleased at their approach, because they started out defining their goals. And at the top of their list was to identify projects and assess their feasibility, their cost benefit, and then prioritize and make recommendations to the council and to the county, because that's a county-city commission. That's just a good approach, I think, for almost any commission. And because I was just there this afternoon, I have their list of projects that they started with, and then they were adding to it as they spoke. But that type of approach makes it easy for anyone that's just looking on to say, okay, I see you're going to do you're going to do a walk around and highest and best use of this, and a neon sign study, and all of these good ideas, because a lot of these things are just excellent projects, but ultimately have to be formalized and that type of process done for each one of them. So I want first to commend the Water Commission for what they did, but also just share that, because it's an approach that I think would help us, or help any council or board say, oh, okay, I see what you're looking at. I see the types of projects you're looking at, and I know how you're going to approach it and make your recommendations. So that's all I had to add. I certainly think these are all excellent, but I really like the highest and best use added to that list.
It's a good way. I mean, it's going to obviously appear on an Economic Development Commission agenda. It's just additional opportunities for our public to get involved, that care about downtown, that care about that visitor space, to offer their input as well as part of a public process. It's something to be encouraged.
Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you for putting together that very comprehensive report.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 4, the work session, golf course manager and golf course grill concession request for proposals, RFP update.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. These RFPs were a collaboration of a lot of people, and I'd like to just recognize them and thank them for their patience working through this. City Manager Ron Foggin, Carl Cooper, Tina Moline, Jackie Walker, and we also had input from former interim City Manager Jim Bacon on this, because we started on this back then. We took suggestions from our customers, from council members, from commission members. We consulted with other cities that have municipal golf course operations and have been successful at increasing revenue. The determination was to separate this into 2 RFPs, and some of the reasons for that were some of the other cities that we talked to have done that and been successful with it. There may be candidates that are interested in the golf course management end of it and not interested in the food service end of it, as well as there may be people that are interested, concessionaires that are interested in the grill end of it and not interested in the golf course management end of it. So we're thinking that it will help us get more candidates that are interested in our operation. Basically, the golf course RFP, the golf course manager RFP is 17 pages plus attachments, and the attachments include the 5-year revenue history, our golf rates as attachment B. Attachment C is our rules and golf course rules and regulations, which this person will be responsible for enforcing. Our private cart trail fee is attachment D, and the current city manager agreement is attachment E. The grill concession RFP is 25 pages plus attachments, and the attachment A for that is an affidavit. Attachment B is our grill equipment list. Attachment C is the golf course and grill revenue over the past 5 years. And the attachment D is the current current golf course manager agreement, which is the concession was in that one in the past agreement. The schedule for this RFP is obviously tonight to update you on where we're at. And we would like to mail this out August the 10th. We have an optional pre-proposal meeting scheduled for August the 20th. The proposals would be due back September the 10th. Proposal review and selection of finalists would be the week of September the 10th. Interview of the finalists would be the week of September the 24th, and negotiate with the top-ranked finalists the week of October the 1st, and bring it back to this council October the 18th. And the candidates that were chosen would start January the 1st. With that, I would be happy to entertain any questions and do my best to answer them, or anybody else. Tina might be able to answer any financial ones, and Carl might be able to answer any of the legal ones. We asked Carl to lawyer this down a little bit, and he actually lawyered it up, so.
Yeah, right.
No, at any rate, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Madam Mayor, I have a question.
Please.
When is the current contract up?
December 29th,
So there's
31st, I'm sorry.
no overlap,
No.
no margin? Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember
And we
McIntyre.
changed this. This used to go fiscal year, which would have ended in June, and that's very challenging. January actually works out better. December and January is a little bit slower time at the golf course. So we changed this several years ago to be the calendar year date instead of the fiscal year date, which I think has worked out well.
Okay.
You had a question?
Yeah, I have a procurement question for you, sir, a public procurement question. Regarding the evaluation committee, are you going to use a 3-member committee, a 5-member committee, a 7-member committee?
We talked about 5. The interview panel would be the city manager, Tina Moline, the finance director, people that can answer the question, Jackie Walker, myself, and I'm not sure whether Carl is going to be on that or not. We hadn't finalized that yet.
Thank you. And I don't want to overstep my bounds, but I know that there's going to be a lot of people that will watch this contract to see what goes in. The golf course is widely used here. And so just as a suggestion, perhaps reaching out to regional golf courses, Laughlin Ranch, other golf course managers, and maybe using them as technical advisory members or somebody to make sure that we get the best possible deal for our course in Kingman, but that's just an idea. Thanks.
Well, and like I've said, we did reach out to other municipalities that have golf courses. We've talked to several different municipalities in making this RFP.
Right, but none of them are involved in the evaluation of proposals. Right, that's what I'm saying.
You had a
Just
question?
one more question. Have you considered including anyone from the commission in the interviewing process?
We have not talked about that. The city
I'd like to
manager and I have not
recommend
talked
it.
about that.
That's good. I'd second that.
Thank you.
I guess I just have one question. We're going to go back to structure again. As we talked about the previous contract, it really wasn't clear accountability. And I'm confident that moving forward, that will be addressed.
Most definitely.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Well, now, do you need direction from us this evening? Because it looks like you want to mail this out, and you don't really need our consent. You're going to go ahead and do that anyway, right? Okay, and nobody has any other comments or, okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Our last item on the work session agenda is the special event process.
All right. I've got this one, Mayor.
Okay.
So just in an effort to keep the council up to date, we were, as a management team, working on what we can do on special events. And as I assembled the team and we sat down, and I think we spent about an hour on this issue. And as we opened up the issue, it actually became kind of an onion. And we kept pulling back the layers, and there's another layer of complications or challenges to our special permit process. And so I just wanted to report to you that we, as staff, are working on this as a team, and recognize that I want the council to know how important special events are to the leadership team, and we know that they're important to the elected officials and to the community. One thing that we did talk about a lot is the livability of the community and how important these special events are to the livability of the community, as well as our efforts back to tourism. So, and one of the things, as we were peeling back the onion, it became clear that one of the things that we need to do with special events is understand what are community events and what are regional or attracting events, and how we market those and where we hold those are extremely important. I know that in the very short amount of time that I've been here, I know that I've probably dealt with, I would say, no less than 6 different either existing events, past events, or new ideas for events. And so I do not see us continuing the practice of only having a couple of events and calling it good for Kingman. I think that the citizens are showing their support for the First Friday event as an example. It's actually every month that we've held it, I think that the numbers have actually gone up, and really hope that can continue. And looking at, we have the community, the standard yearly event, which is the Andy Devine Days, which is wonderful. But I know that we can do better. And so, but one of the things that we did run into that has been an issue for us is, what do we do with the manpower, the person power, as it would, for controlling traffic, for providing those services that are needed to make the event successful, but more importantly, safe. And so one of the things that we talked about is how thin can we run the staff on these events. We've got day-to-day activities that are very important, specifically in the streets department. And is there a way that we can absorb some of the cost or the efforts that our streets people are working on for these events, so that we can take some pressure off of them? And so one of the reasons why we didn't have a full-blown presentation for you tonight is we realized that there's just a whole bunch more work, analysis that needs to be done in order to have a clear policy and direction that we can carry these events out. I guess the long and short of it is we are committed to making sure that events are successful, and we're going to do what we can. But with these events, we need the elected officials and those people in the community to understand that they come at a cost. And so one of those conversations that we're going to schedule when we have this issue, or as we bring this subject back to the council in another work session, will be kind of an analysis of what those costs look like. And some of the ideas that were kicked out by the leadership team were, well, maybe instead of having the streets department do barricades, that what the city can contribute to the event is paying for the barriers to come in, so that the event isn't hamstringed or put behind by trying to come up with what is pretty substantial amount of money for safety. And of course, we will not. I would never allow an event to be carried out that was unsafe. I mean, if you haven't heard my spiel on safety, you're going to get it right now. And we're not going to put our citizens or our employees in any danger that we can help avoid. And so you have my commitment that everything that we do is going to be safety oriented. We are going to look for yes, the answer. We're going to start with yes and look for yes answers. That doesn't mean that at the end, an event may just not make sense, where we end up saying, oh, okay, this just doesn't work. But we're going to start with yes and try to get to yes at every possible turn. And so we are going to be bringing this back and having more of a discussion. We will have some analysis for the council so that you understand where the pinch points are as far as costs, staff limitations. The other thing that is probably worth mentioning is that we had a really great conversation about what events should be city-sponsored or should be covered and find a home with the city, and which are just kind of outside our purview. And the long and short of it is we didn't come up with an answer. And that, for us, seemed more like when we make the presentation to the council, that's really a policy issue for the council to tackle. So when we make the presentation, we will have a clear question for the council to answer, which is what does that policy look like to you folks? And so be thinking about that, because when we bring this issue back to you, that's one of those things that we are going to want to know. Is what's interesting is one of the conversations, or in that conversation, one of the points was these well-established events that I'll again go back to First Friday. First Friday has shown legs. It's growing. It's important to the community. It makes sense to be part of a city-sponsored event. So we should be probably willing to put money towards it. And then someone pointed out, and I think rightfully so, is that's great, but what about that first event where the organizers don't have a lot of money, and they've got this great idea, and so it aren't they kind of deserving of help, where the long-established events have got, they've got the backing, they've got support. So they're just really interesting policy questions that I think that we're going to need to tackle. So what you can look for from us are going to be what we can do, recommendations for pricing, how we can best support these events, but and also what is happening, what are other communities doing? We want to, I think we want to be a leader, but I think it's important to know kind of what does Flagstaff do for special events? What's Havasu doing? What are our neighbors doing, and what does that look like compared to what we are doing? So we'll have some of that for you as well, but ultimately it will be a policy question that the council we're going to need the council to weigh in on. And so with that, that's all I really have on special events. Like I said, we were planning on a full-on presentation, but it was just clear that we needed to do a lot more work and analysis before we showed up. So I just want to let you know we are working on it, and for our part in it, we're looking for all the events to be successful in our community. So with that,
I have a comment. We've talked about this before. Whether or not it's a city-sponsored event, if it occurs in Kingman, it reflects on our community. So at some point, we have to say, we have to, at the very least, be supportive and make sure there's very clear expectations. Because events that are new or even established, even if they're not sponsored by the City of Kingman or put together by the City of Kingman, it still definitely occurs in Kingman, and the attendees say, this is Kingman. So I think it's really important that we recognize that every event is going to reflect on our community and find a way, be it just with clear expectations and clear guidelines, that we assist in helping build events and growing events. It's a very complex policy issue because this is also a quality of life issue, and we know we have considerable other needs. So, thank you. Anybody else have comments on this?
I had a comment. Mr. Foggin, have you met any of the regular local event organizers? There's a lot of races that go on throughout the year, and I've been contacted by a couple of them. I know that maybe a few of the other council people have as well. If they would be able to be involved with your staff, and I mean, I think it's important that they understand our point of view at the city, but it's equally important for us to understand their point of view and perspective as an event organizer that are putting these races on, these community events on.
by races, you mean like 5Ks?
Charity races, right.
But 10K.
I mean, KRMC has one.
Right.
There's several. My own, the Lingenfelder Center, we do one called the Race to Remember in October every year, and there's several. But we need to have a balanced approach, not just process over result. We need to focus on the results they want and what they're trying to accomplish too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So hopefully they would be involved. Thank you.
Well, yeah, and of course we want all of those to be successful. The problem that we run into is when a race is a good example. So we have a pretty well-defined 5K route. Of course, 5K can be turned into 10K because you run it twice, right? But the challenge we have is when someone shows up and wants to do a race that is outside those boundaries on a Saturday, where they're wanting to run through busy intersections and parts of town that just weren't designed or weren't meant for 5K or 10K or marathons. And so that's when we say we're looking for yes, we are looking for yes, but at the same time, what we can do on a Saturday, for instance, versus a First Friday is pretty different, because we're talking about having employees already on the clock, or looking at maybe flexing some time, but Saturdays tend to be a challenge. But that's exactly what the conversation that we're having right now, and feedback is always welcome. And I'm happy to meet with any of those folks and understand what their challenges are, what they're looking to accomplish, and see how we can help them be successful.
I'll give you an example. So if you're going to give a race, you're going to host a race, put on a race, I know one of the things you have to do is submit a traffic control plan, right?
Right.
And that has been sometimes problematic, not all the time.
Right.
One of the things that I heard at a meeting I went to on this subject last year was the possibility of some of these repetitive event organizers or getting certified somehow to do these traffic cones, to put the traffic cones out, to do these things, and relieve some of that burden off of city staff.
Right.
I mean, is that something that you're looking at as
Yep,
well?
exactly.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
stuff that we've talked about. The other thing that we've talked about is that if we have a traffic control plan, and let's say that we have the same 5K route every single year, it's going to be pretty unusual for, unless there's major changes within traffic control. So why not have a template for traffic control so that we're not having to re-up on it constantly? You know, things like that,
Great.
that just makes sense, that are, you know, I guess I'll say that use common sense. Is that the best terminology for it?
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, what time is it? It is 6:44. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the work session.
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll reconvene the regular business meeting at 7 PM. Thank you. 2 minutes.
He's advised them over to, yeah, he passed his meeting.
Everybody ready? Good evening. We'll call this regular meeting of the Common Council to order. The invocation this evening will be given by Pastor Griff Vodier of the Kingman Presbyterian Church. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Your Honor, City Council, let us pray. Sovereign Lord God, we come before you tonight, and we invite your presence and your blessings to attend the governing of our city. We have been promised in the Word that God assures his people in Jeremiah 29:11. I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And we understand that promise is made to those who are willing to follow your counsel. And so, Almighty Ruler of the universe, at this meeting we ask you to enrich the wisdom, insight, and foresight of our mayor, city council, and city administrators as they face the challenges of governing our emerging metropolis and the complexities of the 21st century. Grant them guidance as they discern the path of Kingman's future, and enable them to choose what is best for our people. As they grapple with the various issues dealing with economics and environment and industry, trade, and territorial concerns and so forth, give them the strength of character and your sense of integrity that will enable them to promote peace, prosperity, and progress in our community. These things we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. First item of business this evening is the approval of minutes from the regular meeting, minutes of July 17th, 2018. Any corrections or changes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Mayor, I'm just going to have to abstain since I wasn't here.
Okay. So we have one did not participate. Okay, moving on to item 2, awards recognition. Award for certificate, I'm sorry?
Make a correction to that.
Okay.
And just kind of an FYI, you do not need to have been present to vote on the minutes. So you do not have to abstain.
Oh, I think I'm still going to. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Item 2, awards recognition, award for Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the fiscal year 2017 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. I want to make this presentation, but we need to understand why we should all be so very proud of our finance department right now. This comes from the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada. It presents this award of financial reporting achievement to Finance Department, City of Kingman, Arizona. The award of finance reporting achievement is presented by the Government Finance Officers Association to the individuals designated as instrumental in their government unit achieving a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting. A certificate of achievement is presented to those government units whose annual financial reports are judged to adhere to program standards and represent the highest award in government financial reporting. I'd like to present this to Tina Moline, and her staff that's here is Wendy Shearer and Lexi Bruxfort. Is there anyone else here? I know we want to acknowledge the rest of the team as well. Call to the public, comments from the public. Those wishing to address the council should fill out request forms in advance. Action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter for consideration and discussion at a later time. Comments from the public will be restricted to items not on the agenda with the exception of those on the consent agenda. There will be no comments allowed that advertise for a particular person or group. Comment should be limited to no longer than 3 minutes. We have one person signed up to speak this evening, Kathleen Bowman.
Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and fellow council members and staff, my name is Kathleen Bowman. I'm a resident of Kingman and a member of the Clean City Commission. I'm here to invite you to participate in the Clean City Commission Fair Booth that we have this year. We have been and will be inviting other commissions of the city for their participation and promotional material. If you would like to volunteer in the booth to answer any questions of our visitors or just to stop by and say hello, we would appreciate it. Sarah Ferry of the Clean City Commission is handling the scheduling. I have her contact information, which I have with me and have given it to the clerk. I'd also like to thank Councilmember Yoakum for volunteering to provide daily help and security for the computer we use, just like he did last year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No one else has signed up. Does anyone in the audience wish to address the council at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed here are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Any council member wish to have anything removed from consent agenda this evening?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull item F.
Item F.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of item F.
I move to approve the consent agenda minus item F.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item F. Resolution number 5167, approving the release of assurances for Memorial, Peterson, North 40, Tract 6022, and acceptance of sidewalks for city maintenance. A surety performance bond for sidewalks was accepted for a portion of the commercial subdivision, Memorial Peterson North 40, Tract 6022, by resolution number 4776 on February 12, 2012. This assurance in the amount of $81,054 was for completion of sidewalks adjacent to certain lots in the subdivision. Mojave Engineering Associates Incorporated, project engineer, has requested the approval of the release of the assurance on behalf of the subdivider. The city engineer and public works inspector have verified that all other sidewalk improvements are completed in compliance with the terms of the final plat, improvement plans, and requirements of the City of Kingman subdivision ordinance. Staff recommends approval of resolution number 5167. Your question, council member?
No question, Madam Mayor. This is a matter of family business where we sold a piece of property, and I am going to recuse myself from this vote.
Okay, thank you very much. There's no other comments. I'll entertain a motion to approve item F on the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve item F on the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. And Travis Lincolnfelter, Councilmember Lincolnfelter has, did not participate. Thank you. Moving on to old business, 5A, the opioid litigation. Council directed staff to proceed with an engagement letter with Keller Rohrbach to bring the City of Kingman into the national opiate litigation process. The agreement reflects a sliding scale contingency fee and is explicit that the city is not responsible for fees or costs in the event of no recovery. Staff recommends council authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
And I'll handle this one. I don't know if there's a whole lot of questions that you folks will want. I just wanted to make sure that it was clear that that there are no costs at all with the city if this is not successful. This is going to basically be borne on the firm's good graces. So.
Carl, and if the city is successful, there's no chance that the legal fees would be in a greater sum than what the city would be awarded. Is that correct?
Yeah, the idea is, one is, you notice there's a contingency fee agreement that's basically sliding scale. I don't expect recovery that would really reduce it too much, but the idea is, when there's a settlement, generally the court will award attorney's fees. Those are separate from the award itself. So that's the hope, that the attorney's fees will be paid out. We will get a clean award, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a-
Recommendation for the council to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
I'll make a motion to
Thank
approve
you.
this item.
Is there a
Second.
okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Thank you. Moving on to item 5B, parking lot lease, 3rd and Andy Devine. Mr. Werner Fleischman approached the city to enter into an agreement regarding the parking lot at 3rd and Andy Devine. Mr. Fleischman agrees to the city's original terms, which included an option to terminate the agreement with 12 months' notice. Staff recommends council adopt the agreement.
And I guess I'll jump in on this one
Please.
again. Mr. Fleischman came back into town, approached the city manager, and indicated he was willing to go back to the original terms that we had discussed with him, which was that the ability to terminate if we felt the need to terminate. So if the council is inclined to move forward with that, we think it's seems
Well,
like
this
a
was
fair
what
deal.
we had originally discussed,
This is
so
what-
unless any circumstances have changed, okay.
Thank you to Mr. Foggen for getting this in front of us today, and that's a great building. And I've heard his plans for that facility, and it's going to be a great addition to downtown and to help us with redevelopment, so.
You are very welcome. It was a pleasure, and I'm excited about his vision for that building and what it can do for their downtown. So it's a really exciting project, so.
It's a win-win, I think, absolutely. Okay, if there's no
Can I just
further
make it really
discussion,
clear?
yes, please.
Just, we're talking about a building, but this is the
This is
parking
just-
lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is affecting the issues with this
Well,
building.
that was the barrier to
Yes, ma'am.
to moving forward with the
I just want to make sure
development.
the public was aware we're talking about.
Absolutely, just the parking lot. So staff is recommending council adopt the agreement, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to enter an agreement with, on this lease with Mr. Werner Fleischman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign? Thank you. Moving on to new business. Appointment of council liaisons to the Airport Advisory Commission and Economic Development Advisory Commission. Council has created 2 new commissions since the 2018 council liaisons were appointed: the Airport Advisory Commission and the Economic Development and Advisory Commission. These commissions have now been filled, yes, and are beginning to hold meetings. As such, they are in need of council liaisons to provide communication between the council and the commission. Staff recommends council appoint liaison to each of the commissions. As this is normally something I would do annually when the new council is sworn in, I would like the council to please entertain appointing Councilmember Staley as the Airport Advisory Commission liaison and Councilmember Lincolnfelter as the Economic Development Advisory Commission liaison. Are there any discussion on that?
I'm curious as to where those recommendations came from.
From me, I've had discussion with both council members, and again, historically, this has always been something that the mayor has done, an appointment to boards and commissions. And if you remember, last year, there were some members of council that expressed an interest to stay on the same board and commission, and I said absolutely if that's where your passion is. So, you have other thoughts?
My experience is historically, prior to you serving in that seat, the discussion was had amongst all of council in a public forum, and those with interest towards serving as a liaison to any particular commission expressed it, and it was decided amongst all of council in an open forum.
Well, that's new to me. If that's what you would prefer, as I said, I think both of these council members have expressed a lot of passion and a lot of interest in being on being a liaison on these commissions. If you want to consider other names, we're happy to do that.
Madam Mayor, I have 2 thoughts. First of all, I concur with your recommendations. They've both been very active in the efforts for the commissions that they're recommended for. And additionally, I think that they're excellent candidates based on the term they have in office. So I'd recommend I concur with your recommendation.
Thank you. Other discussion?
I'm open to discussing it if the council wants. I don't.
Well, maybe I need a point of clarification. It's annually, I'm given that list of boards and commissions and the names of the liaisons. I reach out and ask, what are you passionate about? Which board would you prefer to serve on? And I've done everything to make sure that council members are appointed where they want to be.
I think that.
Something change?
Not that I'm aware of. I think a lot of that's that flexibility on how the mayor wants to operate with that. I know it's sometimes in the past, there has been an open discussion.
Okay.
As Councilman Stewart had noted. But I also know that, like I say, there's some prerogative on the mayoral seat to make some appointments. There's some language in that.
Yes.
In this, they're not necessarily, it doesn't exist. But I think many times, especially when you're creating a new commission, an appointment is that initial recommendation. It's not a guarantee. There's still the vote.
Absolutely.
So if this vote is not some way that the council wishes to proceed, obviously you can.
Absolutely. So if
lead
there are
another
other
decision.
names, anyone else? Thank you for that clarification.
Mayor, I would just say that in the rules that I've seen over the years, if in fact that a council member was interested in serving on a commission, was not chosen by the mayor, that commission member or that council member could put their name in for consideration. And I think that would be something that could be considered if Councilman Yocum had a suggestion or a feel for if there was somebody else to serve. So
Thank you, that's
just-
where I was
just
going with
have
that.
seen it, yep.
Councilmember Yocum, did you wish to put your name in or someone else's name in for either one of these liaison positions?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
I was just curious, though, beyond this, if in addition to your recommendation of these two liaisons for each of these two commissions, if there was any polling of council done as far as interest for serving from council collectively as liaison to either of these commissions? Or did you just make these recommendations of your own accord?
I did.
So
Yes, I
there
did.
was no reaching out to council members by staff or anyone else asking council members if they had desire to serve as liaison to either of these commissions?
I guess there would need to be some caution of the mayor reaching out, because that would be an
No,
open
by
meeting.
staff. I understand the forming of a quorum.
But that could also, staff can't pull the council for a decision either, so.
That wasn't my question. I asked if, as far as interest from council members towards serving on either the
But that's
commissions as
polling,
liaison.
that's polling the council, either by the staff doing it, trying to get a decision or an interest. So you definitely just want to be kind of careful with doing too much of that.
Thank you very much.
So the answer is no. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
I have
so,
no further questions.
thank you very much. So I will entertain a motion for appointment for council liaison to the Airport Advisory Commission, Councilmember Jamie Scott Staley, and Economic Development Advisory Commission liaison, Councilmember Lincoln Felter.
Mayor, is that one motion, or?
It's presented as one item, so I'll
Okay,
take it as one
okay.
motion unless,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointments to the commissions as recommended.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, same sign? Thank you. Moving on to next item, this is a public hearing and consideration of ordinance number 1873, amending various sections of the City of Kingman zoning ordinance to remove the minimum 6-foot space requirement between buildings or structures on the same lot in residential zoning districts. In residential zoning districts, the City of Kingman zoning ordinance requires a minimum separation of 6 feet between buildings and structures on the same lot. This requirement has become outdated and doesn't coincide with the City of Kingman Building Code separation requirements. On June 12, 2018, Planning and Zoning Commission voted to initiate a text amendment, and on July 10, 2018, they voted 6-0 to recommend amending various sections of the zoning ordinance. Staff recommends approval of ordinance number 1873. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I have a very short PowerPoint if you're interested in seeing that. Okay, so as a repeat, there was the city-initiated request for a text amendment to the zoning ordinance for the City of Kingman, repealing the minimum 6-foot space requirement between buildings and structures on the same lot, similar to the photo. See if I can do this without going too many slides here. And as a background, really short background, there has been an increase in building permit plans being submitted for accessory structures such as detached garages, pool rooms, rec rooms, and sheds that do not meet the minimum 6-foot separation between the buildings on the same lot. In some cases, property owners could not build the accessory structure because they could not meet the side setback requirements in addition to the 6-foot separation requirement. In other situations, some property owners became creative and connected the buildings with breezeways, attaching the otherwise detached accessory structure in order to avoid the separation requirement. In some instances, they attached them to a wall between the home and the detached garage. So, planning staff consulted with the acting building official to see if the 6-foot separation was absolutely necessary. the acting building official said there is a fire separation in the building code that needs to be met, and the builder still needs to meet the side setbacks, but we didn't have to keep the 6-foot separation. This proposed ordinance would essentially defer the separation requirement to the building code requirements. I always do it. I don't know why it's so sensitive.
You're not really finished, are you?
No, I am
okay.
trying to get to the next slide, and I go through the whole thing, so we'll figure that out eventually. Yes.
There you go.
Okay, one more. Okay, so there's my summary. Sorry about that. In residential zoning districts, the zoning ordinance requires a minimum separation of 6 feet between the buildings and structures right now. And as you said, the requirement has been outdated and doesn't coincide with the current building code. At the July 10th meeting, Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6-0 to remove this 6-foot separation requirement, and this proposed ordinance would essentially defer to the building code requirements. Now I am complete. So, as we said, Planning and Zoning Commission recommended to take this out of the zoning ordinance. And if you have any questions for me,
Thank you very much. Any questions on this item?
thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Does anyone wish to address the council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. It now becomes an action item for consideration of ordinance number 1873.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1873.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Moving on to the final order of business this evening, resolution number 5166, authorizing to prepay and redeem all outstanding excise tax revenue obligations, Series 2005. The City of Kingman issued $2,850,000 in excise tax revenue obligations on September 1st, 2005 for the construction of Airway Avenue located under the railroad. There are 2 debt service payments totaling $530,813 remaining on the obligation. During budget work sessions, there was discussion on surrounding the prepayment of the obligation. By prepaying the obligation this year, the city's financial liability would be reduced by more than $15,000. Staff recommends approval of resolution number 5166.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mayor. There's not much to cover on that. I think the mayor presented that very well for me, but I do want to let you know that the savings will actually be closer to $22,000 in getting final costs from our bond counsel, financial advisor, and trustee today. We were able to get those final figures, which are just over $22,000. And I do want to just point out that in the resolution, it says that it will allow for the prepayment and up to a $525,000 transfer to pay all of those costs. Of course, it will be less than that, but we just wanted to be sure we included enough just in case it was the $15,000 in savings instead. So staff is recommending approval of resolution 5166.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? I know we had this discussion in budget sessions, if we all remember that. Anyone have any questions or comments? Thank you. Seeing none, this is now an action item to approve resolution number 5166.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Moving on to item 7, department reports.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I've got a few things I want to cover with you. The first is kind of a piece of good news. I know that folks have been paying attention to us and the airport, and so I just wanted to give a quick update. We have successfully gone through the FAA grant process for our master plan at the airport, and I'm happy to announce that we have received the FAA grant for master planning. They're going to give us approximately $450,000 towards that project. we will throw in a little bit, and ADOT is actually committing some money as well to that. So looking forward to that project. We have a master plan in place already, and that master plan was developed by the Kingman and Associates folks. And because we've been working with them so actively over the years on the master plan, we're going to continue on the update with Kingman and Associates. The project is going to be community driven. There will be a lot of community outreach. It will encompass the property around the airport as well as the airport itself. So I know there's a lot of interest in this. We in talking with the consultants, having the grant now in place, it looks like we will get started on this project in September, and the process, because it's pretty intensive as far as public outreach and that it's a big project, will probably wrap up sometime December of 2019. So it is quite extensive, and just wanted to tell you the good news on that. So we're excited about that. The other thing that I know I've gotten a lot of questions about from the public as well as council is online bill pay. And I just want to let everybody know that we're going to climb into the 21st century.
Thank you.
And our plan is to be live with online bill pay September 10th. So we're really excited about that. Their finance is preparing a marketing process to get that information out. And then probably once a quarter for the next while, we'll put something out reminding people to sign up and be part of bill pay. And so we're really excited about that. I see there's a question or a comment.
Yeah, well, music to my ears. I brought it up last year, and hopefully we'll expand it to as many places in the city as we can.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I knew Travis was one of those, Councilman Lingelfelder was one of those folks who really wanted to see us. So yes, thank you. And we are going to do some good marketing to let people know. I know that we have a number of customers that come in. They're anxious to have that. So we're excited to be announcing that. The other thing that I'd like to cover is Councilman Yoakum has asked me to cover, well, Carl and I, to kind of cover management of day-to-day operations, and specifically the idea of the airport manager and who he or she should report to. And so I will just remind the council that you already know this, but the public as well, is that the City of Kingman operates under a council manager form of government. That process means that you have a leader, the city manager, and he or she is required to carry out the policies and procedures outlined by the city council. The council is a policy group. That doesn't necessarily mean that you just always stay in policy. If there's something that's not being managed properly, the council certainly would have a say as a group in that. But generally speaking, there's a policy group, the council, and the city manager. My duties are to carry out the responsibilities of the assignments given by the council, and to make sure that those are done as effectively and efficiently as possible. I did want to share just very briefly something that's part of the ICMA, International City Managers Association information, just so that everybody kind of understands the role. It's called the 3 E's: efficiency, effectiveness, and ethics. Like a CEO of a corporation, a professional local government manager brings the best practices in financial management, administration, and personnel practices to running the business of government. He or she is trained to understand effective budgeting, managing staff, and look for efficiencies. Professional managers are committed to the highest standard of equality, transparency, honor, integrity, political neutrality, responsible stewardship of public resources, and to fostering an ethical culture throughout the government. In addition, professional managers who are members of ICMA agree to uphold its code of ethics, which governs conduct and sets the standard for excellence. And I just wanted to share that because I thought that was a really nice, concise way of covering what the city manager is looking for and what we do in this profession. And I know that that maybe I would like to share a sports analogy with you to kind of help drive this home. And that is the city manager functions a lot like a quarterback for a football team, where the plays are called by the city council, and then the quarterback relays those and carries out those plays with his or her team. And I will tell you that there is a real efficiency and effectiveness in doing that. And it is tough, I will tell you, professionally, to have multiple bosses. And you don't have to read a lot about leadership to know that you want leadership that is concise, that shares vision, and that you're not answering to multiple people. And it does make my job fairly tough, because there are 7 folks on the council, and as you know, there's push and pull on a lot of different ideas. And so the city manager, I've learned how to deal with that. My education's there. And so mid-level managers, of course, the airport manager is a mid-level manager, falls under one of my leadership team members, which is Gary Kellogg. I have every confidence in the world that we can identify the best person for this job, and that we can take the direction of the council and make sure that the airport continues in the direction that the council wants to see it go, which is upwards and onwards, right? And we certainly don't want to lose that positive momentum. So I wanted to explain that. I know the council has supported the role of the city manager for many, many, many years. And for my part in it, I just want you to know that the person that is hired will provide the highest level of customer service possible, that he or she will be safety-minded, and there will be integrity in the position, along with all the other duties that we require. And so I know that there's been a suggestion in talking with Councilman Yocum that somehow the city manager doesn't know how to run an airport, and that is absolutely not true. Oh, well, someone had suggested that maybe that this person needs to report to the council because the city manager did not know how to run an airport. So if it wasn't you, Councilor Yocum, I apologize. But the answer to that is I don't know how to run the sewer plant either. And there are leadership positions in the city that I do know how to run. But there are definitely specialties that I am happy to have someone else operate that department for me. But the coordination and the effectiveness of that position or that department cannot stand alone. They rely on public works and parks, and all the success that we've had at the airport so far is because we had a team effort led by a city manager. And so not trying to put words in your mouth, I apologize for that. But just that's kind of my spiel, and I'm sticking with it. So anyway, that's all I had on that matter. And that concludes everything that I had to cover, Mayor. So thank you.
Well, I just want to say in the less than, I think, about 90 days that you've been here, you really walked into a very, very full slate. And I personally commend you for really the amazing balancing act. I'm very pleased with the direction we're going, and certainly very pleased that you chose to call Kingman home.
Thank you, and so am I.
Okay. Any other reports? Then moving on to announcements by mayor, council members, city manager. We'll start again. Did you have anything? Any other announcements? Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to announce that the Main Street Group has hit its fundraising goals with donations from the community. We had a goal of $5,000 to put up our first mural to get started on the Art Alley project. So we are very excited. We were able to raise that money in a month, a little over a month. And so as part of the Andy Divine Days Festival, that mural will go up and it'll be seen and celebrated by the whole community. We had 54 art submissions for this mural project, and they were from people from all over the world who wanted to come to Kingman and share their art with us. And I think that was probably one of the most inspiring pieces of this project, is to know that there are so many great artists out there. There were great submissions. It was hard. We're down to 2. We don't have the official one to announce yet, but I see a lot of opportunities to do more murals in Kingman, not necessarily only downtown, but there's a lot of opportunity there, and so we're very excited and can't wait to get that up on. It'll be on the back of the Beale Street Theater in September. So that's my announcement.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Waite?
Yes, thank you. I am very excited to re-announce that the Youth Advisory Commission has teamed up with the Sleep in Heavenly Peace nonprofit organization, and this coming Saturday we'll be doing our first build here in Kingman. Just a reminder, the Sleep in Heavenly Peace organization's motto is "No child sleeps on the floor in our town." It's basically a nonprofit organization that builds and provides beds to children in need. So we're going to do our first build. The Youth Advisory Commission will be taking charge and helping to supervise and to work alongside members of the community who are willing to dedicate their time. The Youth Advisory Commission will still be requesting donations to be able to furnish these beds once they're completed. So they'll still be doing that. The location will be at 4560 Flightline Drive, Kingman, Arizona, 86401. The airport users with the EAA Chapter 765 have graciously offered to let us use their hangar. So it's a perfect location. It'll be at 2 o'clock this coming Saturday, and everybody is welcome to come and pitch in and donate your time and your talents, and anyone who's willing to come can come along. If you have an orbital sander, if you've got a pair of gloves, whatever if you can bring it, bring it. If not, we'll have something for you. So that's all I have.
I just have a quick question. Is that posted on the website, on the city's website?
I believe it is. Yes, it is.
Thanks. Councilmember Yocum? Oh, sorry, you had a comment? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I had a question. What types of donations?
We
and
really
who's
can't
accepting?
have discussion
Oh,
with
you
these,
can't
I'm
have
sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm a party pooper, I apologize.
Councilmember Yocum?
City Manager Foggen earlier, as part of the work session, mentioned event planning as the last work session item and its processes. Just wanted to make mention of an upcoming event that is it's been many years since this, but almost 2 months to the day, October 6th. First Saturday in October is the Airfest at the airport from about 9 a.m. until early mid-afternoon. I'll repeat that announcement in the coming council meetings. Also, I attended Clean City Commission meeting last month, where the commission is likely bringing forth a recommendation to, they are recommending unanimously that the pilot recycling programs be terminated, or pilot areas, curbside recycling be terminated.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe the majority of the city council will be attending the annual League of City and Towns conference. That's next week or 2 weeks, in a few, 2 weeks, okay? Additionally, in our ongoing efforts to have a discussion about intolerance in our community, we'll be hosting a town hall August 16th at 6 p.m. at City Hall, and we'll continue the discussion on diversity, opportunities, talking about developing that diversity commission, and looking to see what kind of support we can get and what to include in an annual community event that promotes diversity. We certainly wish for as much input and participation from the community as possible. Additionally, I have later this month, we're attending that water meeting in Wilcox. So I'll need a map, but other than that, yeah, right. No, so looking forward to that. So those are my announcements. Thank you. Vice Mayor Miles.
Because water is such an important issue to our community, I'm going to go a little bit further with my experience today with the Water Commission, and I'd like to thank Rob Owen and Greg Henry and their staff who were attending and participating in that. Again, I've already discussed the project list that they were looking at, but the public will be very happy to know, I think, that that group established goals for themselves to look at strategies to protect the aquifer, ideas to mitigate and conserve, looking at our water loss and efficiencies for our systems, and also reviewing our ordinances to see how we can perhaps revise ordinances to include infiltration of water. It's just really exciting what this group took on their own shoulders today as problem solvers and as a really working group. And I think it's a real opportunity for our community to receive the benefit of their work and their recommendations that I hope they will be bringing forth on a quarterly basis or whatever they decide. It's just exciting to see that happen. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kress?
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay. Well, I don't know if, I guess we can move on to discussion about work session items. Does anyone on council, I'll start to the left again. Do you have anything you wish to add to the?
I do not.
Well, I'm going to suggest we'll add something regarding moving forward with our diversity plan. That can come at a later date after we have that initial meeting. Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Miles?
No, thank you.
No,
Councilmember
thank you,
Kress?
Mayor.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I may.
Yes.
One of the things that the leadership team has been discussing, and we think it's important, is that, the work sessions have gone really well. We enjoy sharing the information, and I think that it helps the council and the community better understand what's happening, projects that are fleshed out through work sessions. The one thing that is missing is the idea that we're not getting the council to different locations and giving you the opportunity to see the operations or what's happening. And so we're going to start putting together, this will be off meeting requests of your time. We'll try to be cognizant of that, but we're going to set up some tours so that you feel more familiar with the operations and the facilities that we have. Golf course, airport, public works, sewer plants, when we talk about infiltration, what does that mean? When we're talking about injection systems at the sewer plant, where is that happening? What does it look like? So look for those in the future. We're not going to inundate you with them all at once. We will spread them out, but we wanted to make sure that in addition to the work sessions, that we are giving you opportunities to see what's happening with city operations. So,
Is there a question we could expand that to where it could go on the website and that our residents can see what the city does?
well, that's for a future conversation, because
that's-
I've got an idea, but it's not fleshed out yet.
Okay.
So we're working on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Do you have a question or comment? Did you wish to add something? You
Are we on the work
you had
session
left.
calendar?
No, well, we're done, but we'll certainly
Oh,
allow you to
I thank you.
participate, of course.
Mr. Foggin, for the 9/4 work session
topic, capital budgeting process. Could we perhaps modify that a bit to read capital budgeting and the prioritizing process of those capital projects?
That's what it is.
Well, okay, it didn't say that, but,
Yeah.
okay. And then I'd like to add a centralized procurement work session as well.
Okay.
And then I appreciate the information that you gave to us about the city manager and the council relationship. You've been here since May. I'd like to ask that we move forward that council manager retreat, just to make sure that we can agree and establish performance expectations for the position. We don't want anybody to operate in confusion, so.
It's my understanding that was to be done at 6 months.
Within 6 months?
No, at
Oh,
6
at 6
months.
months.
At
That we would
6
establish the works, okay.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else for discussion this evening? That's the last item of business. Having said that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. Thank you. Have a good evening.